Right now, before you wake up, the birds in your yard are doing things you have never paid attention to. The robin singing at 4 o'clock in the morning that you assumed was just an early bird. The chickadee at the feeder that almost died last night. The small brown bird in the hedge by your kitchen window that flew 200 miles in the dark to land in your yard at first light. Most people think the dawn chorus is birds waking up and singing. It is not. The dawn chorus is the most intense 90 minutes in a bird's entire day, a physiological emergency, a territorial audit, an honest signaling tournament with mating status and survival on the line. And it is happening every single morning outside your window, almost entirely invisible to you. Today, you are going to learn what is actually happening out there in the dark in the 90 minutes before sunrise while you are still asleep. Welcome back to Known by Birds. Subscribe before you leave, because what you are about to learn happens in your yard tomorrow morning. And once you know it, you will never hear the first bird song the same way again. Today, we are going into the dark before sunrise, into what your birds are actually doing while you are still asleep. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover is connected to the sky above your roof, and the scale of it is something most people never fully grasp. The first thing you need to know about the birds in your yard at dawn is that most of them almost died last night. The black-capped chickadee weighs about 11 grams, the weight of 2 pennies. On a cold winter night, that tiny bird does something extraordinary. It deliberately drops its body temperature by up to 22 degrees F from a normal 108 degrees down to around 86 degrees. This is called regulated nocturnal hypothermia. It cuts the bird's overnight metabolism by up to 45%. Without it, the chickadee at your feeder would burn through fat reserves it cannot afford to lose and would not survive until morning. Hummingbirds take this further. Andean hummingbirds have been recorded dropping body temperature to 3 degrees C. Their heart rate falls from over 1,000 beats per minute to as low as 50. They are not asleep. They are in a controlled shutdown. About an hour before sunrise, the bird begins to shiver back to life. Birds do not shiver the way you do. They rapid-fire contract opposing muscle groups, generating heat from inside the chest cavity. The warming process can take a full hour. By the time you wake up, that chickadee at your feeder may have lost 10% of its body weight overnight. Imagine a 200 lb person losing 20 pounds every single night and earning it back every day. That is the math of being a small bird at dawn. The yard you walk into in the morning is full of birds that almost did not make it. Here is something most people have never been told. Birds detect dawn light through 3 separate systems. The first is what you would expect, the eyes. The second is the pineal gland, sitting just under the skull. The third is the strange one, deep brain photoreceptors, specialized light-sensitive cells inside the bird's hypothalamus. Light from the pre-dawn sky literally passes through the bones of the bird's skull and triggers chemistry in neurons buried deep inside the brain. This was confirmed in 2010 by a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Even blindfolded birds can detect dawn. Researchers tested it. India ink injected under the scalp blocks the response, proving the light is reaching the brain through the skull itself. While you are still in REM sleep, photons are passing through the bones of a head and switching on the parts of its brain that decide to sing. And the eyes themselves are extraordinary. A songbird's eye is roughly the same size as its brain. In some species, the eye is bigger than the brain. The eye occupies about 15% of the head compared to 5% in humans. Birds with the largest eyes see the dawn before any other species. A 2002 study in the Proceedings of the Royal Society found that eye size predicts which bird sings first. Larger eyes equals earlier light detection equals earlier song. The order is not random, it is geometry. And on top of all that, birds are tetrachromats. They have a 4th color receptor sensitive to ultraviolet light. The pre-dawn sky shifts in the UV range about 20 minutes before any color change is visible to a human eye. By the time you see the first gray at the window, A robin in your yard has already been seeing daylight for nearly an hour. What sounds to you like a wall of birdsong is actually a precise sequence with a documented order. The American robin almost always sings first, sometimes 45 minutes before sunrise. In well-lit suburbs, an hour or more before sunrise. The naturalist Aldo Leopold measured the exact light level that triggers a robin to start singing. About 1/100 of the light of a single candle held a foot away. To your eye, total darkness. To the robin, daylight. After the robin comes the northern cardinal, usually about 30 minutes before sunrise. Then the song sparrow, the chickadee with its clear two-note whistle, the white-throated sparrow, the Carolina wren, and finally the mourning dove, which often does not begin cooing until the sun is already up. There is a reason this order exists. Pre-dawn air is calm, cool, dense, and acoustically still. No insects yet, no leaves moving, no traffic. Birdsong at dawn can travel up to 20 times farther across the landscape than the same song at midday. That is not a small advantage. That is the difference between reaching one rival or reaching 20. So early singing is not just possible at dawn, it is strategically optimal. And the birds know it. A 2006 study by Conures and colleagues at the Max Planck Institute found that male blue tits who started singing earliest sired more extra-pair offspring. The males who sing first win the most matings. Every dawn, your yard is hosting a tournament. The Carolina wren in your shrub, weighing less than an ounce, can hit 90 decibels of song, as loud as a lawnmower. One captive male was recorded singing nearly 3,000 times in a single day. Most of that volume is concentrated in the dawn window. You are not hearing a peaceful awakening, you are hearing a competition. If you watch a single bird through the entire dawn sequence, the order of what it does is not what most people would guess. First, it shivers itself back to operating temperature. Second, it empties its body. Almost every healthy bird defecates within the first minutes of waking, lightening itself for flight. Third, it preens. The night spent compressed in a cavity or felt in dense cover leaves feathers misaligned. The bird methodically restores every feather to its proper place before it moves. Fourth, and this is the part that surprises people, the bird sings before it eats. Think about what that means. The bird is at the lowest energy state of its entire 24-hour cycle. It just lost up to 10% of its body weight overnight. It is closer to starvation than it will be at any other point of the day. And the very first thing it spends energy on is the most metabolically expensive vocal display it knows how to produce. This is not a quirk. It is a competition. The males who can afford to sing before refueling are the ones with the largest fat reserves left over, the ones in the best condition. And the females and rivals listening to that dawn chorus are reading exactly that information. Singing before eating is an honest signal of fitness. The bird that can do it is announcing to the entire territory, I had so much fuel last night that I can spend some of it on you before I even feed myself. And there is a study from 2019 that proves the birds calculate the risk in real time. When researchers played the calls of owls during the night, the entire dawn chorus the next morning was suppressed and delayed. The birds knew there was a predator nearby. They went quiet. Only after the dawn song is finished, after the territory is held and the survival is broadcast, does the bird finally go eat. This is the part that changes the way you think about the bird in your yard at sunrise. On peak migration nights in spring and fall, the night sky above your house fills with birds, not dozens, not hundreds. On September 25th, 2025, Birdcast at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology measured 1.2 billion birds in flight across the lower 48 inches a single night. Over 80% of migratory songbirds in North America fly at night between 1,400 and 2,400 feet up at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Right now, on many nights this spring, that is happening directly above your roof. And here is what most people never realize. Those birds need to land at dawn. The wood thrush in your hedge tomorrow morning. the warbler in your maple tree, the small brown bird in the bush by your kitchen window. There is a real chance it flew 200 miles last night while you were asleep, and it is standing in your yard at first light because that is when its fuel ran out. This is called the morning flight phenomenon. Researchers have documented thousands of birds reorienting at dawn after a night of flying, often heading in directions opposite their migratory goal as they correct for overnight wind drift. And when weather traps a flock, you get a fallout, exhausted migrants collapsing into the first habitat they can find. The yard you are looking at on the May morning may be hosting birds from Costa Rica, Panama, the Yucatan, birds that crossed the Gulf of Mexico in a 900-mile non-stop flight 2 nights ago. The dawn chorus you are hearing this weekend includes individual birds whose feet have not touched the ground in your country since last October. They are not your local birds. They are visitors, and they have 90 minutes to refuel before they continue. The yard is quiet at dusk. The feeders empty, the branches go still. And then in the dark, all of this happens. Bodies dropping into hypothermia, migration crossing the sky above your roof, light passing through skull bone into deep brain neurons, birds shivering themselves back to life an hour before you wake up. A tournament beginning at 1/100 of a candle's worth of light. The first robin singing into total dark. A wood thrush from Central America landing in your hedge with empty fuel reserves. A chickadee that almost died last night now holding its territory with everything it has. By the time you walk outside with your coffee and notice the birds at the feeder, the most intense 90 minutes of their entire day is already over. You walked into a meeting that started 90 minutes ago. Tomorrow morning, set an alarm for 45 minutes before sunrise. Step outside. Listen. You will hear the order. You will hear the audit. You will hear the survivors of last night announcing themselves one at a time. Tell me in the comments, have you ever woken up to a single bird singing in total darkness before any other sound, before any light? I want to know what you heard. I read everyone. I will see you in the next